Welcome back, Fall Hunter. This is GTW News Borderlands, bringing you the latest from the Borderlands 4 universe. This week's update just dropped and it's packed with new changes, balance tweaks, and event details you won't want to miss. Whether you're farming loot, chasing perfect builds, or diving into latest boss reworks, we've got you covered. We'll break down everything that's new, what it means for your Vault Hunter, and how you can get the most out of this week's event. So grab your favorite weapon, load up, and let's dive straight into the chaos. Date notes, October 23rd, 2025. Hello, Vault Hunters. Can you believe that we've already shared more than a month of mayhem together in Borderlands 4? To celebrate, we have an update that includes widespread stability improvements, multiplayer fixes, UI polish, and a suite of quality of life upgrades across visuals, audio, and accessibility. It also addresses various reported issues for Vault Hunters, including their major balance tuning, loot systems, gear, and achievements, further refining late game mission flow and overall player experience. We'll monitor their community closely for feedback and respond after the changes have settled with measured approach to your endpoint. Will provide a consistent and better experience. As a reminder, our primary goal with balance adjustment is to provide you with the greatest number of viable builds. To PC players with NVIDIA GeForce hardware, we highly recommend you to update to the latest drivers 58.1.57 that were released on Tuesday, October 14th, as NVIDIA has addressed a number of GPU crashes. Please restart your game to ensure the update goes through and prevent connection errors in matchmaking. All right, to start with the change list, so Horrors of Kairos. Added support for the Horrors of Kairos. This free mini event will be live from October 23rd to November 26th. Added the Murmur Legendary TDR Assault Rifle and the Scully Legendary Order Grenade to the rewards for world bosses across Kairos. These special drops will only be available during the Horrors of Kairos and delivered to the reward center. These do not change the rates on any other gear for that boss. Progression, loot, and rewards. This is quite the patch, guys, so this is going to be a lot to go over. Reduce specialization respec machine cost from 5,000 iridium to 1,500. Added drops to a certain boss fight that was not dropping loot. PC Ultimate Vault Hunter rank 5 mission now correctly increases rank on Steam, granting missing cosmetic rewards for players who completed the Kairos. Speaks with 155 echo logs prior to a previous update. Improved equipment handling when opening rewards when driving. Lost loot machine logic updated to better prioritize higher quality loot in the overflow situations. Lost loot machine SDU upgrades now properly expand slots in multiplayer sessions. Address a reported issue with the lost loot machine that could cause duplicates in multiplayer. Loot enemies now drop more cash. That is quite the buff right there, guys. Golden chests now consistently be open after joining a session and redeeming shift keys. Reward center behavior adjusted after claiming the Gilded Glory pack to prevent it from losing function. The Break Free Reward Bundle redemption standardized will correctly apply account wide as intended. Adjusted unlock conditions so that Rift incompatible achievement now completely completes for players in multiplayer. Cut that out achievement now unlocks when viewing the board from a further distance. Level based progression update so Crimson Rising achievement unlocks at character level 10 as designed. Timing adjustments made so Catch a Ride achievement unlocks only at the intended progression joint. Challenge tracking updated so Jacob's throwing knives no longer count as gun kills. Ensured that bobblehead collectibles and Pesto's Grotto and Motherbird node were accessible. Discovered locations now stay discovered when returning to a single player after multiplayer match. Various fast travel stations have been adjusted to unlock when they intend to, including concerns seen in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. Vault key animations now play correctly during Echo Force sequences. Echo log pickup and unpaid tab now counts properly. Amara's escort to core objective now consistently advances when replayed. Improved various instances of mission waypoints not showing up accurately. Gameplay and missions. Maurice's black market vending machine is able to be interacted with reliable in multiplayer. Legendary vending machine no longer closes unexpectedly during Vent of the Line. made general improvements to prevent enemies from getting stuck when spawning, and addressed various reported spawn point issues, addressed bounties, beat, beat law of grip, and shag agriculture not reliably spawning, address reported instances of the terminus frames wall enemies getting stuck on ledges during encounters, address a reported issue in co-op during the Splashstone boss fight leading to a more consistent behavior. The HAL capture station no longer reactivates after safe house capture. One fell swoop has been updated to prevent players from being left floating in the air. The bulkhead now shows that correct elemental icon and movement have been smoothed to eliminate jitter in certain attacks. The Wardenscape no longer clips through arena walls in the boss fight. Improved echolocation guidance across several missions. That was needed across so many missions. Patched collision gaps, holes, clipping, and invisible walls. Corrected order drop pod events to consistently reach the ground and no longer appear stuck in the air. NPCs should no longer cause players or vehicles to get stuck when the player runs them over. Pangolin enemies can now be damaged by grenades while in ball mode. Chank Master trait now tethers to all allies in range when multiple enemies have the ability. Mangler enemies no longer desync their position when dodging in multiplayer. Vault Hunter changes. Harlow the Gravatar. Address some Gravatar builds that were reportedly cause performance slowdowns as they no longer prevent UI elements and updating for Fight for Your Life sequences from completing. Gravatar passive and augment bonuses to gain gun damage now correctly apply to Ripper heavy weapon barrels and the Ripper legendary weapon, the Steamer. Entanglement interactions also function as designed. Gravatar class mods have been adjusted to no longer roll +5 pencils down and pushes the passive past their intended cap. Creative burst balance adjustments. The neutron capture now converts all gun damage into radiation and now applies into gunshots and not all instances of gun damage. There is a dev note there for anyone who wants to read that. Cosmic Brilliance passive. Flux Generator. Annihilation interaction updated so spawn grenades now scale correctly with character level. Aim in the Forge Knight. Shield visuals adjusted for improved clarity in combat. Trait Forge Skill. Adjusted interaction with Forge Master class mods so Forge Skill now respects its cooldown in multiplayer. Onslaughter Calamity. Camera behavior stabilized when combining Onslaughter with the Order Legendary Pistol Noisy Cricket. Attack frequency of Rocket Punch is now consistent in multiplayer. Balance adjustments. There is only one red duration restored, no longer increases point per invested. It is now 4 seconds for all ranks. DevNote says there's only one red was always meant to have huge damage scaling potential, but was always meant to be hard to maintain. We didn't want to nerf this passive power, but we're making the effect harder to maintain. Scourge Vengeance. Scorch Kairos passive now displays consistent magazine size values for the Ordnance gadget. The Forge Wave no longer fires unintentionally during Glacial Rapture. Projectiles no longer get stuck in the air when Forge Master Firewall is active during the Fortress Indomita boss fight. Blackout shock damage now properly scales with points invested. Blackout is now 15% per point, down from 21% per point. Crucible, Cybernetics. Visuals corrected so Forge Knight, Forge Axe no longer disappears when activating Crucible at the same time as throwing with the double edge. Corrected animation of Crucible while climbing. Raging Inferno Incinerate damage now properly scales when points are invested. Vex the Siren. Challenge me, myself, and I now tracks correctly in multiplayer independent of the clone duration on other players. Dead Ringer, the Force Seal. Spectre's copy weapon now displays proper visual effects when firing from the Maliwan element switcher. Incarnate Vexillation. Bleed from the Bloodletter has been updated so it no longer recursively triggers itself, preventing unintended damage loops. Face Familiar. Balance adjustments. Double Trouble Illusion damage multiplier is now 75% up from 50. Double Trouble Illusion's duration is now 8 seconds up from 5. Apex Beast damage dealt increased from 15% up from 10. Rafa the Exo Soldier. Free grenade from Philanthropo class mod now deals appropriate damage even when no grenade is equipped. People person skill tree. Action skills of Apophis Lance. Apophis Lance changed to penalize gun accuracy instead of gun handling, resulting in projectile speed being unaffected. The Apophis Lance now benefits from the cooldown reduction effects. Alright, guys, gear. Skills that boost gun handling now properly increase projectile speed. Adjusted reports that swapping weapons with the freeloader enhancement on an order weapon with a Ripper magazine would cause all weapons to not consume the accurate amount of ammo. Health restoration from the legendary rep kit Adrenaline Pump now works correctly when combined with the legendary shield Guardian Angel. Reduce critical chance on Jacob's crit knife to 30%. There it is, boys. There's the nerf. Dev note, it had to happen. You knew it was going to happen. Other note, no, it's pretty funny. Jacob's legendary pistol, San Saba Songbird, no longer stacks infinitely when swapping weapons. Using a Jacob's shotgun with torque sticky projectiles and the knife launcher underbarrel no longer deals knife damage after switching fire modes. Jacob's weapon parts updated so ricochet effects only trigger from intended damage sources. Ripper legendary shotgun goldenrod overheating effect now clears correctly when switching weapons. Corrected the behavior on the Maliwan legendary SMG. Oh my god! So the first three shots no longer consume ammo without dealing damage during continuous fire. The Maliwan legendary heavy gun Gamma Void corrected to apply properly increased radiation damage to enemies inside the singularity. Weapons with COV weapon magazines now function correctly if a repair animation is interrupted with a rep kit in multiplayer. Deadlift legendary SMG frangible removed from the chest loot tables. Deadlift legendary AR first impression reduced the critical damage multiplier. Recoil behavior improved while charging and firing. Order ARs and torque heavy and triple barrel parts with gun handling passives. Flat off flamethrower underbarrel no longer deals infinite ammo or bypass bio armor. Torgue grenades with spring and apex augments now always explode on the first apex. Grenades with spring augment and divider payload now have the intended 3 additional bounces when paired. Gadgets no longer reset to maximum uses after gaining a second win. Healing orbs spawned from the legendary rep kit kill spring can no longer heal enemies. Wow, that's one hell of a bug right there, guys. Or legendary shield Cinder Shelly combat voice lines now trigger at the intended frequency left off and to be distracting. TDR underbarrel names now match correctly across the item cards and ammo widgets. Maliwan lingering payload splat pack augment projectile is no longer persistent when thrown at vending machines. Gear balances, assault rifles. Here we go. Here's going to be the buffs. Star Helix fire rate is increased by 33%. The body and clay base damage increased by 40%. Pair of knives bonus damage increased by 150 from 100. The Bugbear base damage is increased by 40%. Rotary gun max damage increased to 200% from 100. The Rowan's charge base rate of fire is increased by 100%. The Rowan's charge recoil reduced slightly. The Lucian's flank base damage has been increased by 50%. Lucian's flank recoil slightly reduced. The Aegon's dream base damage has been increased by 35%. Heavy weapon ordinances. Gamma Void base damage increased by 450%. Singularity duration decreased to 6 seconds from 10 seconds. Radiation damage amp increased to 50% from 40 seconds. Gamma Void cooldown increased by 100%. Raven Fire base damage increased by 25%. Class mods, dev notes. Class mods relating to melee damage, action skill damage, specific one-off stats on legendaries have been buffed to make them all more desirable. All class mods, melee damage, action skill cooldown on level 50 class mods has been increased to 60%. Skill damage on level 50 class mods have been increased by 45%. Siren class mods. Avatar's attunement skill duration on level 50 class mods has been increased to 45%. Kindred Spirits commands cooldown rate on level 50 class mods have been increased by 45%. Forge Knight mods. Blacksmith's Forge Drone duration on level 50 class mods has been increased by 45%. Blacksmith's Legendary effect has now also increased all Forge Drone damage by 20% per active Forge Drone. Viking detonation damage on level 50 class mod has been increased to 60%. Forge Master Forge skill damage on level 50 class mod is increased to 60%. Elemental's legendary effect has also increased all damage dealt by aiming by 2% per affinity. Gravatar class mods. Bio-Robot's hazard damage on level 50 class mods has been increased to 60%. Skeptic's stasis damage on level 50 class mods has been increased by 60%. Says other gear dev notes. Gear effects that are related to melee and action skill damage have been increased effectiveness. We want these builds to be pushed up a bit. We want to distribute the power among these various pieces of gear to make them more desirable. Rep kits. Hard hitter now grants 50% melee damage dealt up from 40%. Real big fist now grants 25% melee damage at rank 1 and 2 up from 15 and 25%. Action Fist now grants 25% melee damage at rank 1 up from 15%. Action Fist now grants 30% action skill damage at rank 2 up from 30%. Action Fist now grants 30% action skill damage on melee kill up from 25%. Shields. Boxer armor shields now grant 20, 30, 50% melee damage depending on their parts rolled up from 15, 25, and 40. Berserker energy shield now grants 20, 30, and 50% melee damage depending on the parts rolled up from 20, 27.5, and 35%. Specializations. Groundbreaker now only uses stores gun action skill damage and ordnance damage. UI and text. Sorting settings in menus now persistent when switching tabs or leaving the menu. Toggle junk behavior has been corrected to target the desired item in bank menus and backpack. Weapon wheel no longer sticks when open near gun vending machines. Press/hold input now cancels correctly without triggering unintended actions. Play settings promptly appears when changes are made. PS5 and Xbox split screen updates, including number text scaling, equipment backpack improvements, scroll bar behaviors, partly list layout, and flip card functionality. Restored full screen resolution controls and switching behavior. Weekly activities now populate after campaign completion. Maurice's Black Market vending machine timer updates to show correct cooldown. Firmware 3-piece bonuses. Ahoy, Oscar Mike, Dead Die O now show cooldown icons. Deadeye Tier 3 stacks now appear in the passive bar. Boss bar spacing corrected when combat radar is active. Transfer machine naming has been standardized across the game. Travel notification now displays the initiating player's name. Echolocation path remains readable over time. Made improvements for pathfinding. Updated various UI visuals and icons for alignment, consistency, and clarity. Updated localization of various text descriptions across the game. Standardized/updated terminology across gear, menus, customization, and manufacturing. Alright guys, this part of the video is going to cover the video and audio and the settings and accessibility features that were just added to the game. Alright guys, so we got updated updated various character and NPC animations, corrected various reported instances of visual effects not rendering correctly. Grapple vault points now show proper models instead of placeholders. Reduced reported instances of visual pop at cinematic starts. Audio and visual effects now remain active when returning to menus after level traveling to multiplayer. Adjusted audio mix for improved balance across gameplay and VO. Sound effects volume slider now correctly applies to the high HDR volume sound state. Address several reported instances of VO not playing as intended across multiple missions and scenarios. Vault Hunter battle voiceover frequency has been tuned so lines repeat less often. Missing pain reaction audio restored for several named NPCs. Improved various subtitle timing and text. Background music now continues as expected during the Idol Sal boss fight. Unique audio cue restored for Phosphane Shiny Gear spawns. Settings and accessibility. Personal crossplay settings now can be adjusted immediately after switching party privacy from local only to public in session settings. Air dash is now fully usable on controller when toggle crouch is set to off under accessibility gameplay. Individual graphic options now reset properly after making changes and then selecting the run auto detect and options. PS5 and Xbox field of view resets consistently to default on consoles without showing mismatched values. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video. If you guys have made it this far, this part of the video is going to cover the player experience, miscellaneous, and the weekly cards and the weekly challenges that were just added with this update. Improvements to stability. We are continuing to investigate and will make further improvements to stability and performance. Address multiple reported issues across multiplayer missions, menus, and engine systems. Improve matchmaking and session stability. Address performance in multiplayer when there were a large number of homing projectiles, refine graphic settings and shader handling, improvements made to patch reliability and automation processes. Ocean could occasionally fail to load. That's kind of funny. Miscellaneous. Epic. Rich presence now displays correctly in non-English language on Epic. PS5 friend list now loads properly after logging out and back in during patch. Checks in on the title screen. Joystick inputs now behave consistently when lowering dead zones. PS5 and Xbox. Shift account linking verification codes now auto copy and apply correctly on console. Weekly activity. The weekly encore bosses switch to a tougher variant of the different existing boss with an even more rewarding loot put to take in. This is the Battle Wagon, and the Battle Wagon will be offering the weekly wildcard mission that has got the Dark Subject, Vampiric, Cold-Hearted, Invisible enemies, and the legendary gear, the Shotgun Kickballer. The Maurice's Black Market vending machine has moved to another location and changed its offering. Remember, while the location is the same, your vending machine items are different from other players, so ask around to see if someone has asked them. This location right here, guys, is on Elpis, on the moon, right on the inside of the doll installation center, about two floors down the map. And as soon as you guys get into the map, it's going to be on the left side. Right as you walk into the door, about three jumps up to the highest platform right underneath this garage door, and you guys will see Maurice sitting there. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching GTW Charade, and we will catch you guys in the next video on Thursday. GTW News covering all of the latest Borderlands 4 patch update, buffs, nerfs, and anything that is going on with the game. Hopefully this upcoming week we will see a buff to the Scully grenade that has been added with this event. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I will catch you guys in the next video.